Hello, bonjour, and welcome along to a very special edition of Prep Doctors Live. Whether you're a dentist currently working your way through the Canadian equivalency process, or you're thinking about starting your journey, the recent announcement by the NDEB has significant outcomes for you. My name is Othman Quick. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager at Prep Doctors headquarters in Ontario. At Prep Doctors, we're incredibly proud to be the largest private dental training institute in Canada. And with our size, we feel a responsibility to make sure that dentists coming into this vital profession are as informed and prepared as possible. With that being said, I'm delighted to have with me again our co-founder and Chief Learning Officer, Dr. Marwan Al Rayes. Dr. Marwan, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Uthman. Thank you. And thank you for the nice introduction.
It's a pleasure. As Prep Doctors marks its 10th anniversary this month, let me say on behalf of a tremendous amount of dentists in Canada, Dr. Marwan, congratulations and thank you for your hard work for dentistry over the past 10 years.
You're welcome. Actually, it's been, when I read it's the 10th anniversary, I wasn't keeping track, to be honest with you, but all I remember, it was yesterday when we started putting this thing together from a small location on Dundas Street. And then now I'm looking at where we are. It's a great achievement. I'm very proud of it. And I thank everybody who participated in this growth, especially also our clients who they had our trust and the support throughout those 10 years.
So to kick things off, to get started, Dr. Marwan, with the recent announcement from the NDEB, how do you feel, or how should dentists out there who are in this process, how should they feel about the latest announcement?
So I'll tell you about how I felt when I read the announcement. I felt there is way more positive than negative in the announcement. So the general vibe of the announcement is actually pretty positive. And I'm pretty sure that many people are feeling the same way when they read it, because when I was talking to other dentists, they said, oh, this sounds pretty positive. It's positive from, I look at it from two aspects. One, that it looks like the NDB, they're stepping up in their game to preserve the integrity of the exam, which is good because we don't want unfortunate incidents like what happened in December. And the other positive change is that the most draining in terms of training and time and financials, the NDB have announced that it's going to be more standardized and it's going to be unlimited number of attempts, which actually reduces the stress tremendously on candidates who are going through this process.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll jump into the details as we go along, but I want to start at the beginning at AFK. And with the reduction in the number of questions from 300 to 200, how do you see this affecting the exam? And what should candidates who are going to be taking the exam be looking out for?
Okay, so in terms of content of AFK, it's not going to change. The content will not change. The number of questions, yes, it is reduced. That's actually is a positive change because first, to talk from a perspective of the energy and the concentration required for 300 questions is way more than 200 questions. And most of the candidates that went through the exam, they all mentioned how towards the end of the exam, they were getting drained. So this is a positive change. It's less number of questions. The second thing that I'm reading between the lines, I think this change also will give the chance for frequent updates on the content of those exams. And here I want to reflect back on what we at Prep Doctors experience in our early phase versus now, is that everybody would like to have copyrights of their own material and they don't want their material to be leaked. We would like to achieve this, and I'm pretty sure the NDB, this is something they're fighting for. And that's the key to preserving the integrity of the exam. So in the initial years of Prep Doctors, we were trying to implement measures to prevent the materials from leaking out, copyrights and so forth. But we actually came to the conclusion in the later years that the best way to do it is to have constant updates and to constantly refresh the exams, especially the mock exams, make new exams, new questions. Because what happens is when there's questions circulating in the market, people, they tend to just rely on those, but when they feel that there is new mock exams to challenge them, they tend to want to take the course and to test themselves. So the reduction in the number of questions will achieve the fact that the NDEB is, it looks like they are investing in following this step, so that there is constant updates, which is will work to our advantage and to the advantage of our clients, because what we teach at AFK is core concepts. We teach material in depth, and we actually teach people for almost half a year. So we teach them all different the different disciplines of dentistry, basic sciences, and so forth. So that will give advantage to people who understand the concepts in the exam versus those who just want to rely on questions. So from now on, it's going to be very important for anybody who's entering this process to know that there's no easy way. You have to study, you have to focus on the concepts, you have to know your material so you can be successful, which will make the process more fair. So people who put the energy and the effort, they will achieve good results. People who want an easy way out, I don't think it's going to work out.
Interesting. So if we move on to ACJ, and we know that there aren't any specific changes that were announced to the exam itself. However, the NDEB did announce that the exams will now have to be taken in a specific order:
Yeah.
AFK, ACJ, and then ACS. How do you see this affecting the ACJ exam and ACJ candidates?
It shouldn't affect them. I don't think there is an effect or it's negligible, because people, this is what people usually do. So people, this is the steps people follow. Lately, we see that people want to clear the ACJ before they invest in the ACS. And as I mentioned before, the ACS is the most demanding in terms of time, energy, and financial. It's the most expensive exam. It requires a lot of material and so forth. So it makes sense that you complete the cheaper exams before you jump into the most expensive step. So I see this as a positive change for people, because now they are moving. So the NDEB, they pretty much organize the sequence for them. And also the other positive change I see in this is once people clear the ACJ, they're going to enter into, which we will talk about later, the unlimited 5-year cycle of ACS. And this is actually pretty positive from a financial aspect, because one of the challenges we were facing with financial institutions when we want to push that they should be supporting our clients with loans is the uncertainty. You have 3 attempts and then you're pretty much done for the process. Now they have unlimited attempts, so this will open the door for loans from banks once they finish ACJ and so forth. So there's a lot of positive change in this step, pretty much, which is the unlimited number of attempts and the sequential.
So let's move on to ACS. And there are major changes coming to ACS in 2022. We'll talk about a lot more specifics later, but for the 2021 candidates that are practicing now and are thinking about joining a course possibly in July for the next exam this cycle, or
Yeah.
this year, I should say, how does this announcement affect those people?
Okay, so how does it affect these people? What's going to affect them is not this announcement. What's going to affect them is whether the exam is going to take place this year or not. So first, let's talk about the 2021 before we jump to 2022. There's 2 cycles of ACS that usually take place, which is June and December. And there are candidates now training and they're preparing themselves for the cycle of June. And the question I always get is, will there be an exam in June? Now, I'm going to give my opinion here, because the one who should be answering this question is the NDB. From what I see is the NDB, they want to conduct the exam. It's not they don't want to conduct the exam. The challenge is the universities, whether the universities will give the NDB the facility to conduct the exam. And from what I'm hearing is there are some universities who are objecting to allow for the exam to take place in their facility, and there are some universities that are actually accepting. And I'm basing this opinion, of course, on the fact that McGill University, they announced orientation sessions for the ACS, which means that McGill University is moving forward with conducting this exam. So give and analyzing this, what I predict is there is a good chance that the exam will take place in June. However, I think it will be with a reduced capacity. It's not going to be to the full capacity, and this will actually impact some of the candidate because some of the candidates in June, because they will be doing the exam not on a first come first serve basis, but they will be most likely going based on people who registered before, so priority, which means will they get all the way to all the people who registered for June 2020? Most likely not, which is going to leave a group of people who were willing to do the exam in June hanging, and they most likely may be pushed till December of to the end of this year. And based on that, which in the last board meeting I brought this up, and people, we have candidates now with us that have been training for, by June it will be a year and a half, pretty much.
Wow.
So these people already, they are ready to go to the exam. They have seen all the demonstrations, they have practiced, and they have seen all the lectures more than once. And these people, all they need at this point is they don't need a course. Again, they just want to stay in touch with the practice. So for those candidates, what we discussed in the last board meeting, and we will be launching our product, is just to give them a package where they can have work check and mock exams. So this way they can stay refreshed for the exam. Now, this is regarding people who are training right now. So that's what we're willing to offer them, and to be as flexible as possible with them, because we know that these are the people that went through the most in terms of hardship and time and stress and so forth. Now, talking about the cycle of July, the way I look at it is, based on our experience, most people who start preparing for the ACS, they require 5 to 6 months of practice, and some people even they take 2 cycles, so they practice for 1 year, which means that if they're preparing to do the exam in December, it's not going to make a difference whether the exam is going to be in December or January or February. So they will need to start the practice to prepare for whether it's the end of 2020 or the beginning, the end of 2021 or the beginning of 2022. Now, the questions that will arise is there is going to be a new blueprint, which will be released in October. And the new blueprint may include the new projects, different criteria, and so forth. And that's, and what I want to tell the people is they will be starting the course with the 2021 protocol. Once the new blueprint is released, we will adapt to the new blueprint, because acquiring a skill is important, and it's a build up over time. They can't just wait till October, practice for 1 month and go to the exam, or 2 months and go to the exam. So they need to actually start to be ahead of the game. So in October, we will adapt to the new blueprint, and we are known for this. Prep Doctors is known for being dynamic and for adapting to changes and for being flexible. People who have taken AFK with us, ACJ, they know how quickly we adapt to updates and how quickly we adapt to new announcement. So what we're planning is we're going to start the course with the regular 2020 protocol, 2021 protocol. In October, once the new blueprint is released, we will just gear up and we will implement the changes so that this group of people are ready either for December. Some of them will be for December, and the rest of them are going to be doing it most likely in the first quarter of 2022.
Okay. Um, so with looking at what has been released already in the announcement, uh, what is your opinion on the changes to ACS that have, I know in October there's going to be a lot more detail coming out, but
Yeah.
what's your opinion on what has been announced already?
So if you look at the announcement, the way it works is the following, and I want to break it down into people who have one chance left. There are people who still have one attempt left of ACS, and there are people who still have multiple attempts left of ACS. And in terms of criteria, so what we know from the announcement right now is that in 2022, there's going to be no failure in any of the projects allowed. And the way I understand it is there's going to be no E's allowed, 1E. They cannot have the 1E that they have it right now, which people are looking at it as, oh, this is going to be actually challenging. But the answer is no, because we always push people, they shouldn't be getting any E's anyway. So the stress of number of attempts is way more than the 1E. The fact that people can go into the exam knowing they can do it as many times as they need to is going to tremendously reduce the psychological stress on them to a point that their performance is going to improve. Now, let's talk about two type of people that are in 2021. There are people who still have one chance left, and there are people who have multiple chances left. For those who have one chance left, and we have contacted actually the NDB, and we had a verbal answer, but I'll wait for them to make an official announcement. Uh, for those who have one chance left, if they exhaust this chance in 2021, then they will be required to restart the whole process in 2022, meaning they will have to do AFK, ACJ, and then jump into ACS again. However, if this chance was pushed till 2022, and there's a good chance that a lot of them will be pushed automatically because of the limited capacity, then they will enter into the unlimited cycle. So my recommendation is, if I was a person who had one chance left for me, I will wait until 2022, just to reduce the amount of stress that I have to go with to the exam. Now, for those who have multiple chances left, it pretty much doesn't matter, because even if they exhaust a chance now and then they go into 2022, they are automatically going to be placed into the unlimited cycle.
Yeah, except of course for financially. If,
Financially, it's, yeah, but at the end of the day, financial, once you know it's unlimited and you know there is a
mhm,
future ahead of you, it's still not as bad as that you're spending so much money and there is a good chance that you're gonna go nowhere. That's the
yeah,
challenge. Yeah.
absolutely. So the NDEB also mentioned that they are going to be building a dedicated ACS facility that will open in 2022. In your opinion, is this a positive or a negative
I think
development?
it's a very positive thing, because one of the main concerns we used to hear in the past is that, oh, this university is lenient in infection control, and this university is strict, and the invigilator in this university are tough, and in this university they're chatting on the side and they don't look at people. So these are, I don't know what's the truth behind those, but it looked like the standardization was not optimal between the universities, and having a facility in-house will allow for a much better standardization, because it's going to be directly under the supervision of the NDB, and it's going to be exactly the same environment replicated for everybody. And the most important aspect of it is the flexibility in taking the exam, meaning that it's going to be multiple times, it's going to be more frequent throughout the year. So you're not limited by just 2 dates. You can schedule your exams. So it's pretty much, I would look at it as writing the American boards. Like, the skills become similar to the American boards, where you can schedule your exam and it's going to be in the same facility as everybody writes the exam in. So that will eliminate the anxiety of having to travel to different provinces, choosing a university because there's no spots left and you don't actually want to be in that university. Everybody's going to write in the same environment.
Right. And looking forward to 2022, um, from our perspective here at Prep Doctors, what can you announce today about how our ACS courses will be
Uh,
changing?
well, what I can announce is that it's not going to be the same structure for sure. That's the only thing I can announce. We are working on a model that will adapt to the dynamic aspect of the new ACS. So we will be coming with a new product. Um, we will wait until 2022 to make it official. We will wait for the blueprint in October because it's too early now. What we will be announcing and what's important is 2021. So let's get 2021. We're still in the beginning of 2021.
Yeah,
And by the end of 2021, we will be announcing how we will adapt to the changes in 2022. But all
great.
I can announce is that it's gonna be, I can always announce that we always improve our products. So we always implement changes that will improve the product, but it's not gonna be exactly the same structure as it is now.
So we'll start with Dr. Lords, who says, um, hello, Dr. Marwan. With 200 questions in AFK, how do you think the distribution of marks on each will change accordingly?
It's a standardized test, so there's gonna be a formula that they will be using. So the distribution is proportional. Like, at the end of the day, it's gonna be a formula that will, the passing rate is gonna be 75, as it is right now, a standardized 75, of course. So the weight on each question is going to be more. if you think about it, because the proportion is less. You have 200 questions versus 300. That's my opinion. Um, so I don't think it's going to be a big change, because at the end of the day, when you get 80% in an exam, um, if it's 200, you're allowed to get 40 mistakes. If it's 300, you're allowed to get 60 mistakes. But you have to solve 80 new correct answers, right? So I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I honestly think it's going to be even better, because the focus and the concentration will be much better when you do 100 versus 300. It's a draining to go through a 300 back to back.
Okay. And this is from Dr. Maria, who asks, is August exam specifically for December candidates? Will the rest of us have to wait till the next year to book AFK?
So AFK, it's too early to say what they're going to be doing. They are going to announce the new blueprint in the spring of this year. So I expect soon they will be announcing what they're going to be doing with the AFK. So whether they're going to actually reschedule the exam and allow for 2 cycles to take place or not, remember it's going to Prometric, so they will have more flexibility with the scheduling. They said they will be giving enough notice to people when they announce a new exam. Is it going to be only 1 cycle this year? Remember that the AFK now is 2 cycles behind. ACS is 2 cycles behind. AFK is 2 cycles behind. ACJ is up to date. So there is a good chance that it's not going to be just one exam. They may with a good probability, schedule another cycle this year as well.
Okay. Dr.
And that's my
Tanvi,
opinion, of course. I
absolutely.
don't, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Dr. Tanvi asks, when does the 5-year period for ACS start? Do we know
Okay.
this according to the announcement?
Um, reading the announcement and interpreting, right? So
Mhm.
the way the announcement is worded is that it's a 60 month of unlimited attempts. And if you want, I can pull it up. It's in the frequently asked questions. And let me go over that just so people can see exactly what's the question that's asked and what was the answer to it.
Absolutely.
So this is what it says. Will any of the other examinations in the equivalency process go to unlimited attempts? It says only the ACS will move to unlimited attempts. Individuals will be able to take the ACS an unlimited number of attempts in 60-month period. Okay, so from my understanding of this statement is that the 60-month period begins after the ACJ is completed. An unlimited number of attempts. So they have, the way it's worded, that's how I understand it, is there is a 60-month period where they can do unlimited attempts, which means it will most likely start from the ACJ. But that's one of the questions we sent to the NDEB, and one of the clients sent to the NDEB, and we're waiting for their official response on this.
Great. Next question comes from Dr. Malika, who asks, how will it affect preparation for ACS as it is going to be throughout the year, and how will this affect the success of candidates?
The success of, so this is my opinion again and my expectations. From what I see is people who are not successful to complete the ACS from our candidates, the majority of them, their main problem is stress. Because when they actually perform here in the center, they do a very good job. Their work is amazing. And especially in the period where NDB used to allow people to take photos of their work, some of the very good candidates who actually do amazing work here, when they go to the exam and you take a look at their work quality, you find that there's a huge decline. And they tell you how nervous and how stressed out they were during the exam. And one of the main factors that contributes to the stress is they have 3 chances. That's one of the main factors that contributes to the stress. So now going to unlimited, just that psychological comfort that you can come back and you still have a future, lifting that amount of stress. Now this candidate is not going to be as stressed, so their performance is going to go up. That's my expectation. Plus, remember this, that the ACS is the only exam that does not have a formula. It's not standardized. It's a criteria based. You satisfy the criteria, you'll be able to pass. And the number of candidates that get stuck in ACS and end their equivalency based on ACS versus the other two exams is less. So I expect majority of people will be able to clear the ACS. Now, of course, one of the things, the downsides that I don't want people to fall into is they will say, oh, we'll just give it a shot now and we'll see what happens and so forth. No, you still need to prepare very well because at the end of the day, it is a very meticulous criteria and you have to perfect it.
Right. Dr. Madhur asks, with unlimited attempts for ACS, how is Prep Doctors planning to structure the ACS course? After 5 months general course, will multiple work checks be available suiting the schedule of ACS for candidates? Of course, we can't announce very much
Yeah.
now, but do you want to say anything to that, Dr.
Well,
Marwan?
as I said, it's gonna be dynamic, right? So there's gonna be multiple packages to address, as a doctor is saying now, because since they have unlimited number of times to write it and so forth, we are going to announce, we are still studying the packages and we're waiting for the blueprint in October, because a lot of the factors depend also on the blueprint in terms of how much time is needed for lectures, for demos, and so forth. So once the blueprint is announced, we will come up with the exact structure. But our plan right now is to move the ACS to a more flexible and dynamic structure to accommodate for the multiple chances of writing the exam throughout the year. Because now we structured the ACS based on the 2 times that they write the ACS. So we will be accommodating for the fact that they can write it multiple times.
Absolutely. Dr. Ferris says, congratulations, Prep Doctors. Thank you very much, Doctor. My question is, do you see any pattern in those students who take courses or our course and do not pass the NDEB? So I guess what the doctor means is they exhaust all of their chances in one of the exams.
Do we see a pattern? Yes, I'll tell you the pattern I see. In AFK, I'll talk a little bit about AFK. Um, we have a good portion of people who come to us in the 3rd attempt. And the first 2 attempts, they exhaust by saying that, okay, I'm just going to give it a chance. They study on their own, they don't have proper guidance, and they go and write the exam. So they exhaust 2 chances and they come very stressed out in the 3rd chance. So my strongest recommendation to people who are entering the equivalency process is AFK, don't waste your chances and don't get into traumatic failures, because even though you know you have not prepared enough for the AFK, still a failure is going to leave a negative impact on individuals. So what I recommend is, especially in the first 2 exams now, which is the AFK and the ACJ, make sure you are very well prepared for those exams and you'll be able to clear the process. So to comment on the pattern we see, the people that, based on our individual like internal analysis, we rarely see an individual who starts with us with the first attempt of AFK have a problem clearing the process. Yes, they may experience a failure here or there, but eventually they end up clearing the process. But where we see people get stuck in the process is those who come to us for the first time in their 3rd attempt. And they're starting with the 3rd attempt. So that's where it becomes more challenging to help them. So I would love it if people can actually give us a chance to help them without exhausting any attempts.
Absolutely. And Dr. Seema and Dr. Shadi both ask a very similar question, so I'll kind of combine them. And that is about the AFK February 2021 batch that was
Yeah.
canceled. Do you know anything, or I guess this is a question for the
The,
NDE, but
yeah.
NDEB.
The same question that was asked before is it going to be moved to August or is it going to be rescheduled? We
Yeah,
don't know yet. As I said, my opinion, I think they will try to conduct 2. Um, the whole purpose of canceling it and they're moving it to 200 questions, the NDB, they clearly outlined the reason. They said it's due to evidence of reconstruction and cheating. So they're actually working on coming up with a new exam. I think that's what they're doing. And they need time. And they even announced that there's going to be increase in fees and they need the resources and so forth. So I think that's what they're working on right now. But I can't speak on behalf of the NDB.
of course, of course. The next question is from Dr. Ankit, who asks, what would you suggest someone who is in their third ACS attempt as to when to appear for the exam. If the exams takes place in June, the people on the third attempt are at a disadvantage of starting over if they don't make it. So what would be your advice?
My advice would be wait until January 2022. That's what I would do. I have one chance in 2021, and I will have unlimited chances in 2022. Which one is better? Right? Yes, I am going to end up wasting, maybe waiting another 9 months or so. But at the same time, if God forbid they don't end up clearing the exam in this last attempt, they will have to go through from the AFK. They will have to do AFK, ACJ, and then go to ACS. So it's up to them. If they're willing to take the risk and they have no problem restarting the cycle, that's their choice.
Right. I believe that also answers Dr. Anam, but let's move on to Dr. Hayat, who asks, what will happen if we lose or fail all of our attempts for ACJ? Is there any regulation regarding this? Anything in the announcements about that?
Okay. So let's talk about the three exams. The most important for their future in Canada is AFK. That's the most important because failing AFK 3 times, you cannot be a dentist in Canada. It's done. That's the most challenging. And this is why I always tell people, do not gamble with your AFK chances. And you need to score high on AFK. Like you do not need to pass AFK. You have to score high on AFK. You need to score high and you need to clear that chance. Why? Because AFK will open two routes. It will open direct and indirect. So even if they end up down the road exhausting 3 attempts of ACJ, they still have a chance to apply to university. So they still have a path to uh, pursue their career in Canada. But if they exhaust the AFK attempts, there's no other option except to move to the United States or take it in another country that is accredited and move back. Now, ACJ, if they exhaust the 3 attempts, then there is no more direct route. They cannot continue with the ACS. They cannot continue through examinations. They will have to seek training at one of the dental institutes in Canada.
Yeah. And Dr. Mohammed asked, the NDEB mentioned in the Q&A section, I think their frequently asked questions section, they want the AFK and ACJ to be in 60 months period as stipulated. How will candidates who haven't completed AFK in 2015 or 2016 but have not exhausted their attempts of ACS yet, how will that affect
See,
them?
this is I didn't see that answer, by the way, that they need the AFK and ACJ in 60. They did not comment on the 60-month period except in a light of ACS. So that's what we are waiting for further clarification. So this is the justification the NDB is given, is that once the person clears the ACJ, um, if a 5-year period passes by and they did not clear the ACS, their knowledge, which was tested in AFK and ACJ, is now outdated. So that's why they have to restart the whole process to update, to prove that they still are up to date in terms of knowledge. Now, if someone has already did the exams in 2015 AFK, ACJ, and then they left and they put things on hold, I don't know. I don't know how the NDB will look at that. That's something we will wait for them to answer
Yeah.
in their
Uh,
bylaws.
Absolutely. And Dr. Mary asks, why do you think the NDEB decided to give an unlimited number of attempts for ACS?
Is she upset that they're unlimited now? Okay, so
I
why did
think
they?
more curious.
Yeah, yeah. So why they decided to give unlimited attempts? I don't know. It's good though. It's good. Maybe the pressure that people are putting on NDEB, maybe that NDB when they reevaluate it, because NDB also every 5 years they reevaluate the integrity, they reevaluate the process and so forth. So I think that moving to this, the same thing, by the way, like colleges of pharmacy, medicine, they all reevaluate the process. So the fact that they moved people to unlimited in the ACS, uh, it's a positive change. And also maybe they thought that people can acquire a skill over time. So it's not something they cannot achieve. While the knowledge, the core knowledge is something that has to be there. So that's their thinking. I don't know why they moved it to unlimited, but I'm happy that they did.
Yeah.
Okay.
And following on from that question, Dr. Jaskaran asks, in your opinion, is the passing rate for ACS going to lower, you know, with the unlimited attempts?
Is it gonna be lower or higher?
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna change much because it all depends on how successful are candidates in satisfying the criteria. So it depends on the criteria. There will be people who will satisfy the criteria. In my opinion, it may even be higher because the stress factor when it's removed, people perform better. They don't perform worse.
Yeah. Um,
And another way I look at it too
mhm.
is that since it's unlimited skills, it's pretty much like saying, okay, once you are done with AFK and ACJ, you're almost guaranteed that this process is going to finish and you'll be able to successfully complete the equivalency, right? That's this the sign, or that's the message that is given.
Absolutely. Um, there's a question from Dr. Bahal who asks, any plans to open an ACS training center in Vancouver? Uh,
Actually, we had plans in Vancouver, Calgary, and Montreal. We were on a plan in 2019 of expansion until COVID
yeah,
came, this unexpected visitor, right? So we have to wait to see how things turn out. Like we're hoping that this issue, this pandemic, will be resolved soon. But yeah, it is in our plans. But don't ask me when because things are moving very slow now with the presence of COVID.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, Doctor, I think that's pretty much all of the questions. As information is released by the NDEB, we'll be putting out more things on our blog and different videos and content pieces all across our social media. So stay tuned, stick to our Facebook and all of our other social media accounts. Thank you very much, Dr. Marwan.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you taking the time on such short notice. And everybody out there, we hope you are preparing well for the upcoming exams and courses. And we will see you soon. Stay safe.